for our program, and I am so excited to be able to facilitate this conversation today. We have some really amazing humans that have taken the time out of their very busy schedules. Scheduling with firefighters is not easy, y'all, and they all have made a way to be here today with you all. I think as we are progressing through the program, something that I'm really honoring with this conversation today is that we don't get a lot of opportunity to hear straight from the mouths of our potential clients, about things that actually impact them, right? We have a lot of professionals in the field that are presenting about their experience, but I think it's really important for people to give people the opportunity to tell their own story. So that is what we are engaging in today. I'm going to facilitate the conversation. We're just going to kind of flow together and talk about, these lovely humans' experience in working in a high-risk occupation, and then we'll have some time for Q&A at the end. Cool? All right, so my first question for y'all, if you could just introduce yourselves and briefly describe just what your journey has been like getting into firefighting.
Good morning. My name is Kathleen Hancock. I am born and raised Coloradoan, down south from Pueblo, Colorado. Also was a past collegiate athlete. I am currently a lieutenant with Aurora Fire Rescue. I have a total years of 23. 10 of those years was back in Tucson, Arizona. And then I came back home as a lateral. What that means is I came over as already experienced and became a firefighter starting all over at the age of 39, 40. And was their first African-American female firefighter here at Aurora. And I am currently, again, the lieutenant training officer with other cadres that I'm their first black female lieutenant. And I'm happy to be here this morning. It's a pleasure to be here. It's an honor, actually, to be here to represent our blackness, I would say, as firefighters, and the rest of these three to be part of this panel.
Marcus Allen Gibson, Sr., born and raised here in the city of Denver. Been a firefighter with Denver Fire for 4 years now. I'm at Station 2 out there in Green Valley Gateway area. I'm just on the back step, so I'm just what they call a mucker. A mucker is on the back step of a truck or engine. I'm on a truck. I don't want to go in depth on my journey, how I got here, but I love every step of it. I wanted to become a hero. I didn't have a hero to look up to, so I became my own hero.
Thanks, brothers. Really deep. Benson Gatti is my name. Born and raised in Kenya, and married. Love to bring up my wife in this 20 years this year. So I'm excited about that. 3 boys, and they keep me going. They give me the reason to be who I am. Initially, my career was in biblical studies, and pastored for about 13, 14 years. And 10 years ago, walking my wife down Sloan's Lake, got recruited in the fire service. Engineer at Station 3, actually Aurora, looked at me and said, would you want to be a firefighter? And I said, hey, I just finished grad school, I could use a summer job. And here I am, 10 years later. I'm with South Metro Fire, and I'm inspired to be an officer. It's been a journey, and hopefully we can touch a little bit into that. As an immigrant, English is, 4th, 5th language, so trying to communicate with English speaking, and a veranda means something different than a corridor in English. It's been interesting, but here we are.
Good morning. My name is China Reese, and I am from Denver, Colorado. Was a collegiate athlete, an elite athlete for a really long time. I moved back to Denver roughly 4 or 5 years ago. Started working in my community, teaching and working at nonprofits. Started realizing that we need more representation in jobs as far as police officers and firefighters, and I didn't really know how to go about the process because I didn't really know too many Black firefighters and police officers. Started my process 4 years ago. I am really new on the job. I have a year. I just got off probation. I am with Denver Fire, and I actually work at the same station as Gibson. Montbello, that's where I grew up, so it's really nice. It feels like a full circle moment to be back in my community and giving back to my community.
Can we just first celebrate them? All of the students now I'm a Cancer, so I'm up here just teary-eyed. Just even hearing y'all from the introductions, I don't even want to ask another question because I'm probably going to be up here sobbing soon. So all of y'all, thank you for the snapshot of, I know there's so much nuance to why you're here and how you got here. So we are speaking about the psychology, right, of high-risk occupations. I'm wondering if y'all can speak to, when you think about psychologically what's required of you being a firefighter, and then we're going to add on being a Black firefighter, because I think that's the substance here that we need. What comes out, what stands out as far as the requirements of you psychologically in order to do your job, be good at your job, be a hero?
I'll start. This is a topic that I feel like a lot of people don't want to talk about in the fire culture and public servants. It's a culture that is not represented well in the Black community. We're not aware of it, or we're not introduced to it as young children. So it's a stigma that we cannot reach or be firefighter and police because we don't know how to get there, and we're not a part of that, and we're outcast. So for us to sit up here and be a part of the fire culture is truly amazing. The fire culture is a culture that is not very well embraced but for the Blacks. It's a culture that's been going on for traditions for years and years and years that the Blacks just weren't welcome to. So when we walk into a fire station and fire culture, it's not our culture. We're trying to adapt to another culture, but also try to be ourselves. Code switching. We have to every day try to be someone we're not, but also be ourselves. That's something that we challenge and we face every single day. As you guys can see, like myself, man, this is me. I got the J's every Saturday, and how many more firefighters can I relate to on the job if they're not Black? 0. How many firefighters that are not Black can I talk about the music I listen to? I'll give you another number. 0. How many firefighters that aren't Black can I talk to about anything in my culture? 0. So imagine that, being at your job that you love so much, you care so much about, that you can't relate to these people. The only thing we can relate to is about the job. It's a challenge within itself. So we all try to make sure that we can stay connected because we understand what is the challenges of being on this job. Also just trying to get on this job. A lot of us didn't have mothers and fathers that came from being a firefighter or a cop. So we didn't have that or that person who could walk us through this journey. A lot of us had to figure this out on our own. There aren't many other Black firefighters that we could go to and talk to. The first Black firefighter I met was a person I went to high school with, and that's the only one I thought he was 101. So that's one of the things I think the public doesn't understand. We're in a culture and environment that's not ours. And we have to learn how to adapt to that. But it's also a great thing because we're here to stay and we're gonna make it ours.
I want to just emphasize that a lot of things that I'm hearing from you, one is the isolation that you all could feel of walking into a system and not seeing yourself there. And with that isolation can come with a lot of feeling like you need to be something that you're not, like you said, the code switching, and feeling really inauthentic to yourself, feeling probably a level of unsafety. And somehow you have to shed all of the things that you are and all the things that make you who you are to be able to be a part of a system. And let's add on the layer of y'all are fighting fires, right? So if you already feel unsafe in the system that you're in, you feel like you have to sacrifice your identity, how can you really be your best self? How can you trust the people within you, within your system, to be able to like show up for you and protect you in something that's real life? Like, I could die, you know? So I just want to like emphasize that, because I'm hearing that, and I want y'all to like really just sit with that for a minute.
Okay, I'm going to piggyback off Marcus a little bit. It is a culture that is not our culture, and it is really hard to not have large amounts of imposter syndrome when you go to work every day. Like, just for me, I'm a Black woman, I'm young, I'm one of 3 on the job. I have tattoos, I'm from Montbello, but I have a master's degree. I'm educated, I know who I am, I'm sure of myself, and I know that the doors that I'm supposed to walk into, I belong there. And those are things that I have to remind myself when I go to work every day, like, okay, you can do the job just as much as the mucker on the back step with you. My process, I had a lot of imposter syndrome. In academy, my academy was probably 24 people, 10 of them were cadets. So they already had one-ups on me. They knew what to do. They knew how to pull lines. They knew what you do when you go into fires, and I had no idea. And so it was really hard. And a part of the reason why I picked the firehouse that I'm at right now is because there are a lot of people that look like me at this station, and so it feels comfortable. It feels like we go into a fire and it's hot, it's burning. I know that when Marcus goes in there and he searches, he'll find the fire and we could go home safe, because I'll go put the fire out, and I know that he'll have my back. And then the other part of like the psychology of it, you never know when you're going to get a fire at work, so you have to stay sharp. Your mind has to be sharp, and I've kind of took that aspect of elite athletics and brought it to firefighting. It's just a sense of, okay, it goes off, we get a report for a fire, now it's like, it's time to really do my job, and I have to be sharp, and I have to know what to do. I have to trust that the person who's on the back step with me, my engineer and my lieutenant or my captain, that they have my back and the trucks have my back, and we're all in unison and we can go do the same job. But it really is one of those things where you have, like, that confidence has to also be within yourself, especially as a Black firefighter in a job and in rooms and places with a lot of people that do not look like you. It's really easy to doubt yourself in those situations.
This is awesome. In hopefully about 3 weeks, I get to sit and basically defend my philosophy of why I want to be an officer. And I'm intimidated just by even speaking as I look in the crowd and try to resonate with folks that look like me, and also folks that might look immigrant-ish, right? So to me, this is actually practice, so I need to work on the nervousness, so thanks for the opportunity. I'm in academy. Actually, let me back up. Physical resiliency, we can handle. I do burpees with the best of you. Mental resiliency is different. First week of academy, I'm asked, why are you not performing like the rest of the crew? My question to an instructor is, why do most white folk run and stop at a red light and keep jogging at a red light? And that's what I asked. What they didn't realize is that we are being trained to run 4 miles. As a Kenyan, 4 miles is a joke, right? So take that, and a week later I'm in Cherry Hills as a lead paramedic, and the lady has to take away their chain and their earrings because I'm the one asking questions. Take the same example where my crew has a right to talk to an African American patient however they want, but when I refer to a police officer as Popo, I'm being written up. Are you following me? So you start working on mental resiliency. That I could call a mayday or an urgent, but they have to confirm it. But Benson, it's Mayday, not Mayday. I'm like, Chief, if I'm in trouble, you'll know. Doesn't matter what language I use, you'll know I'm in trouble. So mental resilience is something I have to take home every day and be reminded that I'm worth it, that my blackness, my accent, who I am as a man, it's good. But every day, I gotta be reminded that my wife has to remind me of that, and some of the core people that have loved me have to remind me of that. So I gotta carry that every time I go to work. Go to 21's district, same thing, Sharia law, something I grew up with. I would have to tell my crew, Assalamu alaikum is just a greeting. You don't have to call cops on that, right? So those are the mental resiliency I gotta keep. Man, I would rather do burpees 1,000,000 times than have to wake up and prepare myself mentally just to show. This is not even running a fire, running a call, just to show up at the dining table and to start my day.
There's a lot going on throughout my head right now. I'm the one with the most years here. I'm also an individual that I have different labels that go on me. That label is black, female, gay. None of those things ever, when I walk into a room, tend to sit with me. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to play my role. My role into this department, this role into a firefighter, started as an athlete, period. An athlete with struggles that many of us have stories. Every single one of us different colors. So my role started a long time ago of resilience that I didn't learn until later in life, and maybe doing this firefighting. But coming into this role, I say chosen from above, put here. And where I came from is I was an athletic trainer first, and I lost my mother. So that rolls me into being recruited. So you get recruited, why would I do this role, whatever, why would I want to do that? Here's a big reason, because I was also a recruiter for Aurora Fire with the most diversity hired. So that being said, why isn't there many that look like this? So what I found in the Midwest, there's not a lot of us. As you go down south, there's a lot more of us, and it's different, and you feel different when you get around that. So when you come up this way, it's just not a lot of us. So for me, going into the role as a firefighter, what we call probies and what we call people new that have never touched it, like China and I never touched it. But I knew mentally I could do it. My challenge was written test all the time. But put me out there, show me I could do it. So that resiliency is like that athletic part kicks in. Don't tell me what I can't do, I'm gonna do it. So getting recruited, I went into that and struggled a lot, but knew I could do it. So I continued to go on. I made my steps. Tucson was a great fire department where I learned from. Lateral transferring over here, one thing I didn't know was all eyes was on Kathleen. Throughout my whole academy, all eyes was on me. I say that, not knowing that, being the first, and I'm saying all these things not to gloat, because I'm not one to gloat. It's hard for me to take the pride and the strides that I've made throughout my life. But I'm saying this today because I feel like I'm close to retiring. I'm 55, close to retiring. That's for females, we don't last as long as our male counterparts. So when I sit here and say, I struggled, but I wasn't gonna quit. But when you're sitting in front and being the first female speaker of a department, of the biggest diverse city of Aurora, and you get told after, which I was glad no one told me, that everybody was waiting to see if you were going to fail. That told me a lot. But my first struggle was when I didn't do well in my paramedicine. I was already a paramedic coming here. That's when I realized, oh, they're making it hard for me. I didn't think this could be true. I never thought this could ever be true. There's no way. But I found that after the fact, I made my way through. So I'm going to tell you the story that's real quick about Vincent. I was his cadre. I was one of his people. So I got to start seeing, oh, this does exist. How naive was I? Even though I went through it. He struggled. He was going to quit. And my words to you, you're not going to quit. Because they struggled with understanding him. They struggled with the fact that he was struggling trying to get this. And I was like, did you guys ever realize he has a doctorate? He knows more languages than us. So I started seeing how they would pick. And I started seeing diversity, not just blacks, diversity. And I became that voice. So when you talk about mental and physical strife, mentally will make the worst. It'll drain the shit out of you, excuse my language. It'll drain you, and I experienced that. Then my next role is to get through paramedicine. That's when I was going to quit this department. Why did I come here? I didn't deal with this back there. There's something wrong. There's something wrong in this department. But my role was, no, you're a voice. I've always been a voice, a respectful voice. And being the only female black firefighter, I knew there was others that I wanted to come along, so I became that recruiter. There was my next step. The next step was I wanted to become an officer, because then you have more of a voice to stand up for everybody. So for me, when I walk into a room, I don't care what you look like. I do care a lot when I come and walk into a room with people that look like me, because there's reasons, because I watch how, if there's not one of us that doesn't look like somebody or match or understand, they can be just pushed aside like it's just wrong. So for me, when I walk into a room, you're like my family member. I don't care what you look like. I'll give you 2 tries. You disrespect me the second time, it's fair game. That's enough. I don't care what you look like. But sitting up here today, I want you all to know, because I'm close to retiring, and I need to say this to say that looking over at China, it brings a lot of emotions. I was the first. I got to see the second hired in my department, female, black, and I got to see the third. I finally was able to relate to somebody. I have good female counterparts that are white, that are Hispanic, but we have conversations that are deep, but you will never understand. When we walk into a Safeway, King Soopers, they don't see just a firefighter, they see a black firefighter. When our other counterparts that are not brown skinned, they see a firefighter. Hear me. Hear me. And when the public sees you and they say, wow, I have never seen 2 black female firefighters in the front seat. Down south, it's just nothing. I'm bringing you here after these stories because I want you to hear my second female counterpart. She left to go be an astronaut, a pilot. And they told our chief, if you do not keep her, she's going to leave this department and she's going to do something bigger. If I was in your shoes, I'd make her your second out of everybody else. No matter, she was just a firefighter medic. I would put her behind you any day. She's off doing her own thing. I say this because I did have a chip on my shoulder at one time in this department. F this place. But then I realized I was punking myself out, because then I cannot make more of all come on here. I'm going to bring it to just a little part. You don't have to look at me for me to stand up for you. Because in our fire service, it's an eat your own. It is an eat your own doggy-dog world. And you have to be a different human to come onto this type of world, to help others. while you're still helping yourself.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't even know where to go.
I mean, thank you for that. Hey guys, I want you guys to really paint a picture. If I didn't have this on my shirt right now, none of you guys would know, or this hat, none of you guys would know I was a firefighter. Absolutely none. None of you guys. You know why? My son goes here. Rick's school. We walk this campus all the time. None of y'all ever stopped me and said, thank you for your service. I walk this campus all the time. Not one time have I got stopped by anybody and said, thank you. If I was white and my mustache was like this, you guys wouldn't know I was a firefighter the moment I stepped into this room. That's the cultural difference. Every day we walk into the fire station, or the public sees us, they don't see a firefighter. They see the black first. Think about that.
Thank you, Kat. I remember sitting in after failing my first test out of 79 out of 80, I remember being called in the office. You were not sitting there, and they asked me, do you understand what we're trying to teach you? And I remember a gentleman saying, do you have a GED? And so I played dumb, and I was like, wow, GED. And I said, well, at that point I was like, well, man, if I can have that and match it with my master's, that'd be great. And I remember them looking up, and half of them turned really red. And I started realizing, I think they're getting mad. And that's the day I learned the word smartass. Fast forward, our last test, we had to crawl through this tunnel. It starts big, and at the end, you're breathing, your capacity of your lungs will affect if you're going to make it to the other hole. And that's the day I said, this is not for me. Well, the problem is I had to go get out of the hole. And that's when I looked up and I could hear Kat breathing. And she forsook her role as an instructor. And she whispered, I got you. I'll never forget that. So what's the significance? The significance is I now own a home. The significance is my 3 boys each have a room. The significance is I have more money in savings and an emergency fund than most Americans do. The significance is that 60 people in a village that you will never know where it's at know how to do CPR the first day. You can do this. So thank you.
Never thought I would be at a conference just like bawling with tears. But y'all are just not only talking about but displaying so much. And I can't even express how much gratitude I have for y'all. First of all, can we go back to this recruiting thing? Because y'all keep talking about it. How are y'all recruiting people off the street? Like, what are y'all looking for? How do you, like, hire somebody down and be like, you're it? Like what, and that's a funny question, but it's also rooted in like, what are some of the things that you feel like you look for, Kat, being a recruiter, that like, what are those qualities, characteristics that you feel like are conducive to being where you are and doing this work?
Mine will always start with the younger generation, little toddlers up. I'm really engaging when I walk into stores. I like to go up and just talk. I can go up to a 10-year-old and be like, hey, have you ever thought about being a firefighter? And then I started young because I believe in telling young folks that they can be anything and anything they want to. The biggest enemy and critique is yourself. So I like to just start and look at people because I can pick any of you out of the room. Because we all don't take for granted. We have 5'3" female and a 5'3" male that you would think that they can't do this job, and they do believe they can't do this job. She probably weighs about 25, and it is here. You put that seed in a person's mind and you invite them to the fire stations to ride along. You invite them to see, because a lot of you really don't have an idea unless you know a firefighter and you've taken a ride along. And if you want to, I would go to your nearest station and ask, hey, can I do a ride along with you for a few hours? So you see the life. Because when you plant that seed of what we do, we work this is how I sell it. Work 10 days a month. We have second jobs. A lot of us have our own personal jobs, making way more than a lot of our other folks that have their careers. You have benefits and retire really well. And the biggest thing is a lot of that they think that we go into firefighters 99% of the time they think that. No. It is majority of 80% is medical calls. It's medical calls. And we teach you how to be a firefighter. You get paid like an athlete to train and be educated on how to be a firefighter. What kind of life is that? 10 days a month? If that, some of us usually take off a whole month because you trade is what we call each other. So I sell it like, you can have a second job if you want, you don't have to. But you're only working 10 days a month, you got benefits. When you're retired, it's there. But I also say it like this, but you will always have that mental portion that you're gonna have to always battle. You gotta take care of it. You gotta find a way to release the stuff we see. You gotta keep it real with people. You gotta keep it real that way. So I'm always selling it at a younger age and engaging that way. But I could take any of you in here and put you on our grounds, and you're gonna find out within those first probably 24 hours, this shit ain't for me. Because fighting the fire is just very different. That's the fear of a lot of people. But I'm gonna be very honest with you, it is more so of what we see on the medical side.
I have a little different approach to recruiting. Obviously, my recruiting is going to be different from talking to a white person or to a black guy, or female to a male. To a black guy, they already counted us out. It's proven wrong. They already checked you off. They already discontinued you. They already think you're going to fail. Why not prove them wrong? And when I say they know who they are. Let's prove them wrong. Let's stand toe to toe with them and prove them wrong. That's been my motivation throughout life. I'm always going to approach that. To a female, the fire service already is not even accepting or welcoming you. So why don't you go down and kick doors and be a badass? I tell China all the time. China's probably the fastest person in our department, and they still ask her this race. Doesn't make sense. Just so she can prove herself. It's crazy. So that's my recruitment approach, is just blunt, man. To the young black men or females out there, they already, the moment you apply, they already say he or she's not gonna make it anyway. So prove them wrong. Prove them wrong. And to the females out there who want to join us, think you're going to apply? Show them you are.
Recruitment. I think most people are just not given the opportunity to shine. They don't have, especially in my community, somebody that speaks into their life. What do I mean by this? When I pastored church in St. Louis, my elders were old and dumb, and they all had hearing aids. Here's what I mean by that. I would get in trouble bringing teenagers in the church to run the soundboard. What they didn't realize, I would pick Joe, who's a young black man who has a $50 car with a $500 sound system. Does that make sense? So I'm sitting, I'm like, how can this kid wire a car with the best sound system, but we won't let him run the church's soundboard? And we trust my elder, who has a hearing aid, to run a soundboard. Does that make sense? It's the same thing in my community. We go to the park, and you have all these brothers all just playing ball, right? And yet, we disqualify them because we don't think they're some of the most best physical fit candidates, right? So I tend to look at those. I tend to specifically look at the kids in my community that they're up to something. They have a skill to offer. It just has not been illuminated. Then they also love the community, right? These kids know their community. I mean, if you go to Montbello, you know each and every single corner of Montbello. And finally, my approach to specifically wanting to recruit more minorities is that how amazing is it you sit at your dining table in the station and one dinner will be kimchi. When I cook, there's going to be goat. My wife partners just cook pasta. How beautiful is that, right? So that's the standards I look at. It's my community. These folk who have not been illuminated yet to succeed on their skills. I mean, I wish in the academy they put me in front and say, hey, you're a Kenyan, show us how to run. And I could have excelled. Instead, they made me do burpees. So find the skills. See them as created in the image of God. See them as human beings. Everybody has something to offer. And that's the beauty of the Firefighters.
Yeah, really highlighting people's strengths and like tapping into that strength instead of looking at people already. I hear a lot of y'all, all of y'all talking about this in one way or another, like already doubting people's ability just because of how they look or what cultural backgrounds they have, and the mental, psychological ramifications of that, of always feeling like you have to prove yourself because you're already, being doubted. Your abilities are already being doubted. I know we are low on time as we get into trying to transition into Q&A. I'm hoping that each of you can speak to, you're in a room either full of sports psychologists, mental performance consultants, budding sports psychologists, and mental performance consultants. What advice or what do you want to leave with them just as we kind of wrap up this portion, as we talk about just everything that we've been talking about? What do you want to kind of solidify and let them know as they're thinking about maybe working with this population?
I would say there is more to firefighting than just fighting fires. Because a really big thing that we touched on was the culture aspect of it, and especially with just minorities even who are on the job and who are not our white counterparts. There are a lot of different things mentally that we deal with and we have challenges versus those who have dads or grandpas or they look like their next counterpart on the job, and just knowing that, going into fires and fighting fires and then seeing the things that we see on the streets when we run medical calls, that does take a big toll on you mentally, but a really big toll that this job has is the aspect of the culture and trying to figure out who we are, how do we fit in here, And how, like Marcus said, like how can we still be ourselves, but have that code switching within ourselves to be able to perform and do our job and be accepted in the environment that we are in.
Yeah, I leave you with be yourself. I come from a sports background as well. I'm a father, a husband, but I'm only going to be myself. I'm not educated. I dropped out of college, but I only know how to be one person myself. So never lose who you are. Never lose your identity. Never let society try to point you in a direction that's not where you want to be at. Stay true to who you are. It does suck being a black firefighter that I have to turn my music down before I pull up, or wait a block before I turn my music back up. It's part of the job. We're integrating it more and more, but it does suck. But I'm grateful to have these people that I can just be myself around with and go home and be myself with. And as I progress more through the job, people are more embracing and less welcoming of us, of who we are. And hey, staying true to myself, I stay true to my core. I'll give you a challenge. I'll leave you with a challenge. Everyone in here has a phone, right? Don't speak at once. Yes, right? I challenge you right now. Pull up. Anybody has Instagram or anything like that, go ahead now. Do it now. Pull up what it looks like to be a black fire. Type in black firefighter in Instagram. Somebody tell me what they see. Type in Colorado black firefighter, Denver black firefighter, Aurora black firefighter. What pulls up? Exactly. That's my point. For typing firefighter, any white guy would have pulled up. Any white girl. When you type in black firefighter, you guys are searching for that, right? You gotta search for that, right? You gotta look through it. You gotta scroll. No one's found anything yet? Okay. That's the things that we have to face every day. What is it to be a black firefighter? No one knows. You guys, who in this room has seen a black firefighter besides today? Thank you. Who's the first time seeing a black firefighter? Be honest. Thank you for that. I'll leave you with that. Thank you.
For those of you all that are going into the mental portion, psychological portion, to help those out there in the world that look like us, keep in mind, firefighters rarely will ask for help. They're used to helping. But if you're sitting in front of individuals that come that are seeking to help us through it, keep in mind to ask, how many of there are you in your department? How many times have you been on a fire engine where there's more than one of you? How many times have you had an officer that looks like you? Ask how many times have they struggled where they've had a cloud over them where they're going to possibly fail out. And then ask how many times they have never spoken up. Because those are some of the things that happen. I have counterparts, have come across counterparts that have been in a room and have not spoken up for themselves. That's the imposter syndrome of not speaking up. I think that we are rare that we will speak up respectfully, but those are the things that you take home when you look like us. It's because when you do sometimes speak up, keep these things in mind. That's what they go home to. It is rare you'll see it did happen in Aurora many years before I came on, there was an all-black crew. Back then, it was rare to see that. You could get placed. So, being at the same station, or having at least one that looks like you, it's a different feeling for us. And I was fortunate to have that experience. My goal before I leave is to have all 4 that look like me, and at least 1 female. That is my goal. But keep those things in mind, that when we get in front of you, that is a big thing. It's the imposter syndrome, and how many times that we feel alone, no matter what. So those are the biggest things to always remember. Firefighters don't ask for help, and when you do, be gentle, courageous that we stepped in front of you, and just take yourself out of the shoes for a minute and just realize it took a lot for us to even get there.
Shit, I need some help sometimes though. And out there, if y'all see me, help your brother out.
Thank you. Advocate for us. Dr. Jones, thank you for this opportunity. Whatever your class, be a project you're working on, you have kids at elementary school, whatever it is, advocate for us. Show us. Yeah, show us. We love what we do. We have this tendency that most firefighters don't want to. Well, I want to show up so my community can do that. So call me to your kids' school, call me to your places of worship, call me to your jobs, because we do love what we do, and we do care about that. And also pull to the right when you see us come with the fire truck. So here's what I'm going to end with. Do you have a black friend? How do you define that? Do you have a black friend that you can trust with your money and with your spouse? Because I do have a white friend that I can trust with my money and my spouse. I have a Korean friend I can trust with my money and my spouse. Do you have a black friend? Because as you engage in this relationship, there's going to be more deeper things in life that you're going to discover about us, and we're going to discover about you. And at the end of the day, we are the world. Dr. Jones, thank you. And thanks.
I wish we could stay up here and talk for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. But I just want to kind of reflect back so much. We talked for about 40 to 50 minutes, and we've heard about intersectionality. We've heard about imposter syndrome. We've heard about feeling isolated in a culture. We've heard about legacy. We've heard about impact. We've heard about the importance of truly seeing people. We've heard about lifting others up and experiences paving the way. We've heard about authenticity and how that's twofold, right? Of modeling that, but then also encouraging that in others. We've talked about culture and the importance of that. And it's not just, I'm just going to work. It's how can I bring my full self into work? That's gonna make the work more meaningful. And so many other things, and I honestly cannot thank y'all enough again for your transparency, your vulnerability, your rawness, your jokes, and maybe there's a couple minutes for questions. No questions? Okay, meet them over here, give them their flowers, ask them questions. I know they would love to meet y'all and talk with y'all more, but once again, thank them. Let's celebrate them.
There is a question.
Got some questions? Come on, we're going to hear questions.
Okay, 2 questions.
Stand up.
Thank you, I appreciate y'all for sharing y'all's experience.
What's your name, bro?
My name is Joshua Williams. I'm a former student of the National. So, considering that you are in these spaces kind of by yourself at times, a lot of the times, a lot of people have a lot of questions for you based off of how you actually go about the job and your personal experience, maybe even outside of the job. And my question for you all is, how is the service or the conversations, maybe even the interpretation of experience from your white counterparts, how has that changed over time based off of the experiences that they've had with you?
Damn it. So we'll go through it as a progression. So let's say we get on the job and, you know, we're these people, we're just raw as we are. And we're trying to learn and embrace the fire culture and those struggles early on. We'll say that's like step one. Step two is you get assigned a fire station, or you have to, and now you're like a part of that station as a whole. So now you have to learn how to walk and talk like them, but also like yourself, but you can't change who you are. So those conversations are very tough. Those are some challenges that, a lack of better words, man, people don't want to have. Like, for example, myself, man, I'm a poor kid from the hood. I cannot relate to you if you grew up in the suburbs and you grew up with two parents with money. I don't understand what you're talking about right now. I don't get it. I don't know what the heck's on Fox News. I never watched Fox News. What is that? I don't know what that means. You have a savings account and you have your dad and your grandpa gave you some money? What? So those challenges are huge. And it's not easy, and it's not always a pleasant conversation. And some of our counterparts do, because they don't understand where we come from, say things that's like, what did you just say? It happens a lot. Man. But also, we can't be the angry black people, because guess what? We'll be written up in a heartbeat. And there's more of them than us. So we have to learn how to play that dance. I call it a dance. And every day we have to learn how to dance. And we have to play around it and try to find that boundary between what's right and what's wrong. What I've been doing lately, man, is I'm tired of dancing. I'm tired of not feeling like myself, a code switching. Those tough conversations are starting to be had, and I'm doing it every day in my station and bringing people into our culture, cooking the foods that we want to eat. I don't like pasta. I don't. I didn't grow up eating pasta. I don't know what fettuccine is. I don't want to eat it. I don't understand it. So those things, like being true to who you are, is something like when we say that, we have to do, and we embrace, like, I want you to really feel that, man. Really understand, like, you guys, when I say, like, who I am, look at me. I pulled up bumping Jeezy. There's not a white person on the job who knows who he even is. So really think about those things, like those conversations when we have those. Really feel us when we say they're not easy. They are very tough.
Okay, I'm going to piggyback a little bit off Marcus. So I am the one collectively that has the least amount of time on the job, and I actually just got off probation. Probation in the fire service is interesting. That's just a whole different culture within itself. And the conversations are really hard to be had. And when you're on probation, you do your job, you don't talk. You don't speak to anybody, you do the dishes, you clean, you make sure the firehouse is opened and closed, and that's really it. My last firehouse that I was at on probation was a completely different world than my last 3 houses that I was at. I was the only black person in there, and then on top of that, I'm a woman. So I struggled a little bit. I even had that conversation with Marcus, like, this house sucks, these guys suck. I was with a lot of old timers, and they would put some misogyny on me. They would put a little bit of racism as well on me. And I know that they come from an era where they do not believe that women should be on the job. So they put me through a lot of very hard trainings. And I was like, okay, this is kind of out of the normal. This sucks a little bit, but I'm gonna show you guys that I can do the job. And every single training, I kicked ass, excuse my language, but I did what I was supposed to do times 10. And then one day we were throwing ladders, and we were throwing the 28-foot ladder. The 28-foot ladder is like 100 pounds-ish, around that. And we were throwing it from a high shoulder. So a high shoulder is you have the ladder on top of your shoulder. And my officer was like, well, do you want to try? And I'm like, I mean, I don't really have a choice, but yeah, I want to try. I want to show you guys that I can do this, because I could tell that they were doubting me. It was a double company, so there was 8 of us at the firehouse. 8 people came out and watched me throw this ladder, and when I tell you, they were like so surprised. And I'm like, I can do the same job that you can do. Doesn't matter if I'm a woman or if I look how I look or I believe the things I believe, I can do the job. And then they were like, well, do it again, Proby. Okay, I did it again. They're like, wow, I've never seen a woman do that. And I'm just like, so bad I wanted to have that conversation with them of like, well, why do you feel like women can't do that? Or have you really not seen a woman throw a 28-foot ladder from a high shoulder? And okay, if you haven't, fine, but we can do this job. But I was on probation, and I can't have that conversation with them. And like Kat said, right, you don't want to be the angry black woman. You don't want to give them any reason to have anything worse to think about you than kind of what they already think about you. So I am now off probation, and Marcus and I literally were just talking about this. He was like, well, you can have those conversations. You can have those conversations. And I'm like, still one of those where I'm like tiptoeing in, you know. But yeah, they're not easy conversations to be had at all.
2 seconds to allow the question. I wrote, in order for this communication to happen, the counterpart has to submit to our leadership. They have to be willing to be led by us. They have to be willing to learn. And also, they have to commit to be our ally. That's gonna take time in both parties. It's gonna take vulnerability from both parties. It's gonna have to have purpose behind it, and I believe also it has to have calling. You have to be willing to do that, because this is not a quick fix. It's not a quick trip. Slushy. This is work. So yeah.
All right, y'all. We're done. We're out of time. But thank y'all again.
Just want to give one more round of applause for each individual member today. Thank you so much for being here and taking the time to do this for us. It was impactful, so thank you. We will now be transitioning into student and professional presentations in those breakout rooms.